Tim Bradley versus Manny Pacquiao. Let's get straight into it. The thing that makes this fight so intriguing, it's the first time in a very long time that Pacquiao has fought an individual that is young, upcoming, not weight trained, a current champion, and has the hunger and desire to really want to come and win a fight. It's a life-changing fight for Tim Bradley, and I think it's going to be the most testing fight for Pacquiao. As I said, for a very, very long time, for a number of reasons. A lot of people talk about the Oscar De La Hoya fight or the Ricky Hatton fight, but I think Manny Pacquiao now, as he's gotten older, is not the same fighter that he was in those back then, and I think a lot of people are still sort of like in love with that Manny Pacquiao. This Manny Pacquiao, years on in 2012, there's a lot of issues going on with Manny. He talks about his new belief, but I always thought he was a Christian in the beginning. But he's talking about his belief in God. So what was going on before? Was he not believing in God before? No, that's beside the point. Let's move on. With the fight itself, looking at the weigh-in of the two fighters, as Bradley stayed the same way all the time, very focused, very dedicated, and sticking to a game plan. And so far, you've seen no nerves from Bradley. He's looked intense from the beginning, and if he fights intensely with a Pacquiao who's not focused, could be spell trouble for Pacquiao. What do we know about Pacquiao? We know he punches very hard. When he punches in bunches. We know he's got fast hands. But we also know he struggles against good boxers and counter punches. And Bradley will be counter punching. He'd be foolish not to. I don't expect for any second for Bradley to be knocked out in the first couple of rounds by Pacquiao. I just simply don't think that's going to happen. I can see Bradley on his back foot actually counter punching Manny and draw Manny in. As in the Marquez fights you've seen, Manny does struggle against someone who counter punches, and if Bradley can counter punch Manny, this will be very interesting to see. The one thing that really stands out for me is that in the HBO's special, the face-off between Marquez and Pacquiao, they talked about how they felt they could, in terms of the footwork, how Manny could get inside of Marquez and not make the same mistakes. But if you look at the fight they had afterwards, you'll see that Pacquiao made the same mistakes he was making back in 2008 in the 2012 fight. And Marquez, for me, I thought won the fight more comfortably. Marquez did not get knocked down simply because he was out of range most of the time for Pacquiao. Marquez would throw his punches, step out of range all the time. He was stepping back, out of range all the time. Every time Manny came in, he'd counter him and frustrate Manny. And for me, Marquez made it a very easy fight. I think, I don't know if Bradley's going to use those sort of tactics. My only concern for Timothy Bradley is that it's the big occasion. We don't know how he's going to perform. We don't know whether the big stage is going to make him lose the game plan. And the big lights and everything, the pressure he'll crack. I don't see him doing that, to be honest. I think he will stick to his game plan. I think it's going to be a case of what Manny Pacquiao comes into the ring on the night. But I'm going with Tim Bradley on this one. I'm going with Tim Bradley. And, Bradley used to fight, I heard from, obviously from Manny Stewart, he said that he used to fight a higher weight before, and his amateur days was 152, 154 pounder. So he's naturally the bigger man. So I don't think the punch power of Manny Pacquiao is going to be a problem. I really don't. But I said, it's just down to how focused Pacquiao is. Now, if you look at the weigh-in, going back to the weigh-in, if you look at the way the two guys weighed in, Bradley looked absolutely ripped. And if you look at Pacquiao, he didn't look as ripped as he normally does for fights, which is something that worried me. And even when the stare down came, Bradley was looking at Manny straight in his eyes. I'm going to take you out, man. I'm going to take you out. And Pacquiao's just laughing and smiling at him. Now, I hope that Pacquiao is 100% focused for this fight. The problems with Alex Ruiz are probably deeper than we all know. I'm sure there's some problems there, because I said, looking at Pacquiao, he did not look as ripped and as defined. Now, has he been taking his training as seriously? They talk about this new Pacquiao, and he's trained better in the best shape of his life. But if you take the Marquez fight, he fought the same way the first fight as he did the last fight as he did in the previous fights. The only thing is Pacquiao's gotten bigger, and I think he thought he was going to knock Marquez out. But if he doesn't knock Bradley out, and he can't hurt Bradley, what does he do? So I'm going with Bradley, and I actually think if he goes the points, they'll give it to Bradley. Depending on if it's a close fight, they'll give it to Bradley so they can make a Bradley Pacquiao 2 fight. I mean, Bob Arum, let's face it, he likes to keep the money inside the house, as they say, with Top Rank. I mean, most of his fighters that fight Pacquiao are top rank fighters. So the option is, I think, if Bradley were to win on points, or they gave it to Bradley on points, you know, a controversial points win for Bradley, then the return fight would make a lot of money. If Manny were to win, I think he will take a full fight with Manuel Marquez, one Manuel Marquez, if Floyd does not agree to the fight. So let's see what happens. I'm going with Tim Bradley for this one. Tim Bradley by controversial split decision. Okay, that's my views. Tim Bradley, controversial split decision.